hello. Welcome. Come in. Here, y'all. Get on in your shoes and relax your feet. You are now in the den. So, guys, this is my, celebrating Black excellence, Black history. I didn't get to really do these the way I wanted to throughout the month due to scheduling and me getting sick, but I wanted to really talk about MLK X before, this month was over. So, we're going to go ahead and get into it today. I'm not doing it episode by episode. This is just kind of a series overview, the things that stuck out to me, the things that I really liked about this series. Of course, this was one of Genesis series, MLK X. It was available on Disney, Hulu, and Geograph, which I like the fact that it was on a couple of different networks. You had different ones that you could choose from to be able to go ahead and check this out. It was coming out 2 episodes at a time. Of course, if you are familiar with Genesis, this is the 4th season. Okay, the first one they did Albert Einstein. The second one they did Pablo Picasso, and then they did Aretha Franklin, which was kind of controversial. I wasn't really here for that one so much because, of course, that was one that the family was against. They wanted the one with Jennifer Hudson to be done. But however, Karma, I do like the fact that they shedding a light and doing different things that have to do with history. And although when it comes to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I think that we know that there's many movies, many documentaries, many books that's out here about them. They are probably the ones that we heard about the most when it came to Black history and school in general. A lot of other things we don't hear about as much. And so I know that sometimes people get tired and they may feel like, well, we already know their stories. We've heard their stories a whole bunch, and we kind of want to see some other people getting their stories told now. And I do get that as well. But, I wanted to check it out because I thought it was just like kind of a different perspective than what we may be used to seeing. Like I said, we've heard about them individually, but in the aspect of hearing about them together and having the comparisons of their lives and all the way from childhood up to adulthood. I thought going to be interesting and different take than we have gotten in the past. Hey, Candy Love, what's going on? Hey, Shannon, thank you for coming through, girl. Candy Love, I didn't know. Well, I know you say later is better. Plus, I know you haven't been feeling well, so that's why I didn't, invite you up here. I'm doing it solo, girl, solo dolo. But I don't think I'm gonna be up here too long because, like I said, I just want to really touch on just little things, mostly about their childhood, because I really thought that part was interesting. A little bit about their relationship with their wives. I feel like a lot of the other things we have really heard and saw in a lot of the other documentaries. I also want to tell you guys about maybe some other movies and documentaries that's about them. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. That, if you do want to get more in depth topics and discussions on them, there could be things that you could check out. And of course, y'all know I always have a little bit of fun facts. Y'all probably know about most of these because, like I said, I think these 2 men are probably like the most discussed men that we probably have. And most times is usually the scenario where we say, of course, in hindsight, that Martin Luther King was all about peace. We'll see people use him when they feel like using him to kind of benefit and put things to the way that they wanted to be after the fact. And then a lot of times we would say that Malcolm X was out here trying to promote violence and different things of that nature. I think is looked at probably a lot different than what it used to be, but I do still see people trying to use Martin Luther King when they can. I see his daughter a lot of time having to go at people on Twitter when they be trying to do that. But regardless of how much you want to say that, he was peaceful and he wouldn't want us doing this or that, him being peaceful still didn't stop him from being taken out when it all comes down to it. Okay, so we definitely have to be clear on that. But like I said, this was like really showing a back and forth between their lives, and we start all the way when they're kids. So it was 8 episodes altogether. Like I said, 2 at a time. So the first 2 was graduation and also Who Are We, right? And so in those 2, we're more so seeing them as small kids, when they're first getting introduced to these racial, tensions and prejudice, people coming at them and their families. And they're also, dealing with just wanting to be kids and wanting to be able to do things a certain way and how their fathers were with them, right? And so, and for instance, with Martin Luther King, in the show anyway, they show us his father coming and singing that he wants to change his name from Michael King Jr., which was actually his birth name, to Martin Luther King Jr., right? He says he's going to change his name and he's going to change his son's name. And it's like, well, what's bringing up, this change all of a sudden? Why do you want to change it? And he claims that it's because he wants to name him after his uncle as well as honor his father's wishes, right? But his wife is pretty much like, you sure it's not just about the Berlin trip and your excitement about, the famed Protestant monk Martin Luther? Are you trying to name him after him? So this is how they present it in the show. But supposedly in real life, it basically was documents that show that yes, his name was changed, but it wasn't changed when he was a little boy the way that they depict it in the show. It actually says that he was born, of course, Michael, okay, and later changed his name once he was 28 years old and already starting, the civil rights, right? So I thought that was interesting, but he does say that he changed it because this was his father's wishes, right? And later they also show us that in 1941, him as a teenager, he just wants to go and hang out and be able to have fun, but they keep telling him, it's family first. You got to go be with your grandmother. You got to help your grandmother out. We need you to go over to the church and help her set up. And, it was my olive church or whatever. And instead of him doing that, he decides it's the last day of the fair. It ain't going to hurt nobody. I could go hang out with my friends and have fun at the fair. And he goes ahead to go do that. And unfortunately, while he's going to the fair, his grandmother passes. She has a heart attack, right? So when he comes back home, he's seeing them all upset and he finds out that his grandmother's gone. Again, in the show, they show us him actually have an attempt on his life, right? But this is true, right? According to Psychology Today, he actually had multiple periods of severe depression, okay? Because, think about it, like one, well, of course, in the show, they're showing us his father telling him, like, you're going to get your name changed. And he's mad at his father, like, why do I have to change my name? All my friends know me, as this name. And he said, well, maybe if I explain it to your friends, then they would have a better understanding. And he basically tells his father, like, all my friends are scared of you. You mean all the time with everybody. So nobody don't want to talk to you. So you definitely kind of felt like he probably was feeling like his dad didn't understand him and he didn't understand his dad, right? And, he also seemed like they were very strict, very much everything is like homeschool and the church, right? We ain't got time to just be hanging out with our friends. So again, he just wants to be like a normal kid, a normal teenager. And in the midst of all of this, he's also having to see that, of course, there's white only bathrooms, white only, fountains. You getting on the bus and you got to get up when him and his teacher goes on this trip. 1 minute he's so excited and happy because he done, scored high on tests and been able to win all these different things. But at the same time, that joy doesn't last long because we have somebody saying either y'all could get up and go to the back or y'all could stand up or you have to get off the bus. So at a very young age, he's already seeing that, of course, things is not fair. They're not right. He was even saying like, well, I could get up, but let my teacher stay there. We also find that he's a very smart young man, right? They say that even though he suffered with these periods of depression and he did have 2 attempts on his life, and one was when, the grandmother passed, and that was around the time when he was 13 years old. At 15, he was already on his way to college. Like he was already admitted to Morehouse College, graduated in 1944. No, I'm saying started in 1944, graduated in 1948 with a BA, okay, in sociology at the age of 19. Like, come on, Martin, I know that's right, okay. And then I graduated with his PhD, okay, from Boston University at the age of 25. And that's where he basically met Coretta at. Okay, then when we talking about Coretta, this was another aspect that I liked because it showed how smart she was and how she actually was an opera singer and sounds so freaking beautiful. Okay, she over here thinking she about to be touring the world singing her opera, whatever. She wasn't even paying him no mind. And we also kind of see that he was a little bit of a ladies' man. Okay, I know we heard stories in these streets, but I like the fact that they were showing that in here. Like when he go to the little club to hang out with his friends or whatever, where they would have their discussions at. One of the friends make a joke like, "Oh, you just trying to come in here because you want to get with the ladies, blah blah blah." And he was like, "One problem I don't have. Okay, I got 99 problems, but a problem I don't have is getting me a honey." So I like that part. But once he saw Coretta, and I thought they picked a perfect actress, in my opinion. She like embodied Coretta to me, in my opinion. And I know that was some other things that people had to say about it. They wasn't really happy with some of the actor choices. I feel like when we talk about this, and I was saying it the other day, you're probably not going to get people that look exactly like them, unless it's just already a person that resembles them, or unless they're going to end up using some type of prosthetics to make them look like them. That part really doesn't bother me so much. I feel like, especially when it comes to Malcolm X, no matter who comes and do it, we probably not going to think that they did it good enough, because you already had Denzel do it and nobody is going to compare it to him. That's who most of us is going to be comparing it to. Only other person that I feel like probably came close to it is the one that played Malcolm X in The Godfather of Harlem. And then if you remember the last season that they were on, they had changed him to another guy, and it was kind of taking a minute for, people to get accustomed to that. But in this case, I did think that the Coretta was a good choice, all right, for me. And she was kind of giving him pushback. Like, she wasn't impressed by him quickly. She was her own woman into her own things, and she didn't want to get distracted, and she didn't want to get caught up into what he was caught up into. But and he was a good cook. She would come over to do her laundry, okay, quotes, and he would make her different food, and she was like, you ain't all of that in a bag of chips. But he really started getting swept up into her, and when he did start feeling like he was getting more serious, he let his mother know, and his mom was like, "Oh, well, this really must be something, because you don't usually bring girls home, and you don't usually, talk about no different girls in this way. We didn't know you was planning on bringing her home with you. Your father kind of had other plans for you." And when he does bring her home, his father was very rude to her. He didn't feel like she was good enough for him, which I really didn't understand why he felt that way, because he didn't even know her to feel anyway. He downright, like, literally dissed the hell out of her at the dinner table and was telling Martin about another girl. And at the time, Martin didn't say anything. He didn't stand up for her. So she went upstairs to pack up her stuff, like, "Oh, I'm getting the hell up out of here. I'm not about to sit here while you let your damn daddy disrespect me." So I just thought, as far as that part, that was very interesting to me. Okay. And also, his father was looked at as somebody that was kind of, out there, where certain churches didn't want to mess with him. And they felt like if Martin was going to be following behind in his footsteps, then they didn't know if they wanted to associate with him or not. That was something else I thought was interesting. Hey, Lemon Kush Papa, thank you for coming through. How you feeling today? Yeah, they switched them out. Candy Love says that was sad. Yeah. She said, yeah, the actors executed their characters very well. Hey Lisa, what's going on, cuz? How you doing? Thanks for checking in on Facebook. Appreciate it. What's up, Zaria? Thanks for coming through. So yeah, y'all. As far as that part, I really did think that was interesting. And then when we get the contrast, because like I said, we start out with them as kids. So in Martin's situation, we're seeing him, where he has to, basically go by the rules, get his name changed, even though he doesn't want to. He's seeing that in certain lines that's for white people only and all of that, versus when we see Malcolm, we're seeing him and his father going somewhere, and there's some white people that's lining up for free food. And he asked his dad, why can't we go get the free food? One, because that's a white only line, and two, because his dad is telling him we work for what we want. Okay, we don't need to be out here begging nobody for nothing. Okay, if we got to work day and night to get what we need to get for ourselves, that's what we gonna do. We never gonna be out here begging nobody for nothing. Okay, so he's already trying to teach him that, from when he's small. And his father comes across very stern. One of the times that his mom is having the kids study and things of that nature, he comes in and he's like, "Why y'all playing around? Ain't y'all supposed to be studying?" And they get all serious and scared or whatever. And then he starts playing with them. But, we have a situation where we have these two guys come up to the house and they basically knocking at the door and telling them, y'all no longer can stay here. This is now a whites only area. So whether y'all think y'all own this part of this land or property or whatever, you got to get the hell up out of here is basically what they was telling them. And they like, you don't understand English, and trying to talk all this different crap to them. And Malcolm comes out, and apparently she knew 9 languages, and Malcolm also knows 9 languages. So I'm assuming that she taught him. But she came out there and started breaking it down to them in every language and was like, "Oh yeah, we understand you very well, and this is my land, okay? And ain't nobody telling us to go no damn way." I was like, "Oh shoot, I know that's right." And they basically end up being like, "Oh, so you just let your lady come out and talk for you? You don't know how to speak for yourself and all of this." And I guess he felt, that she showed out in front of the men or made him feel less in front of the men. He already was feeling a way that they're coming and knocking at the door and telling him he got to leave in the first place. So he, in turn, when they leaves, ends up putting his hand on her, which, Malcolm didn't like that, and he helps her up or whatever. And later that night, they come and they end up throwing Molotov, cocktails in their damn house, burning everything up. They got to freaking, go running. And he see his father coming out with this weapon. And after that happens, the dad is like, "We not going to go for this. Like, I'm not going to take this laying down." And he says that he's going to go, into town and see what the heck is going down. And she kept telling him, "No, don't go," that she knew if he went, that was going to be the last time that they were going to see him. And of course, it ends up that that's exactly what it was. The next time that we look, it cuts to his funeral. We have Malcolm actually meeting another sister that I guess came from a previous relationship before before the father got with his mother, which his father's name was Earl Little. And of course, Malcolm was Malcolm Little up until the point when he joined the Nation of Islam and changed it to Malcolm X. So that's kind of another similarity where they both, changed their names. But nonetheless, due to the fact of their father passing away, and in real life, it is said that in about 1931, Earl Little was actually killed by a streetcar, okay, in a very bizarre, very horrible, gruesome car accident, a hit and run type of style, right, accident, right? But the coroner ruled it as an accident, right? And of course, Malcolm believed that it was the KKK. I mean, here it is. He's coming and burning crosses on his land and telling him that he have to get out of here. And not too long after that happens, they take his mother to court and they're telling her, like, you have to get off the land. You can't stay there no more and all of that. And eventually they have her put into an insane asylum, a psych hospital or whatever, right? And so I'm wondering, like, well, I mostly figured that they probably just put her in the psych hospital regardless because they wanted to get the land and that would be the way for them to get it. Once she went into the psych hospital, of course, him and his siblings were separated. He ended up going into foster care. So, that was to get land and for them to just separate all of them. But on the other hand, I feel like maybe she did have a psychotic break. If you had people coming and throwing freaking fireballs through your damn house where you got to run with your kids and your baby and they burning crosses out on, that probably would send you into the freaking psych hospital too, and your husband gets killed in a freaking bizarre car accident. Like, yeah, that's enough to do it. Okay. So unfortunately, Malcolm does go into foster care, and we see that he's smart too. We see that he be winning debates, and he's in charge of the debate team and all this different kind of stuff. But he gets discouraged and ends up dropping out of school once one of his teachers tells him that Black people can't be lawyers. It was like he got turned off after that, right? And then just like we saw him meet his sister and, find out about her and her tell him that she could look him, he could look her up one day. He does do that. And it seems as if him going out to where his sister's at then leads her to teaching him how to do different crimes, teaching her how to interact with him, with the police. So like I was mentioning, you have Malcolm that's going through him being on the bus and them telling him to get up, and you have Martin going through being on the bus and them telling him to get up, and then you're seeing the contrast at the same time of Malcolm being pushed around by the police and his sister telling him the things you was able to do back home you can't do here. Okay, you need to go ahead and get it together. That don't work here in the same way, right? So we also started out the series with the two men, meeting up in ZC, right? Which they do have one meeting that they had during the Voting Rights Act, where they was down in DC at the same time and they got to speak briefly and they got to take pictures together, right? They never had another interaction, unfortunately. They was planning to have one, but it never came to be between, Martin ended up getting arrested or whatever. He did get to speak to Coretta during that time. And then unfortunately, not long after, he actually ends up getting assassinated himself, right? We just actually had the anniversary for that, which was February 21st, 1965, right? And JFK had got assassinated a little bit before him. And when JFK got assassinated, he had actually came out and made the comment about the chickens come home to roost. We done heard that quote many a times, right? So that was one of the times and the reason why he was saying that. And from the minute that he said that, we kind of got a separation between him and the Nation of Islam. Then they wanted to start complaining about the way he was talking. And, of course, by him going on different trips, he started seeing things, in a different way and things of that nature, which most of that we already know about and heard about before, right? So some of the other things that I did like about the series is that they also showed us, Kennedy, Thurman, Ford, the FBI, Hoover with his raggedy behind. They showed us Adam Clayton Powell and how he was playing in Dan Martin and them damn face. Okay, of course we know that Adam Clayton Powell is the Baptist, pastor politician that represented Harlem, New York. He was the first African American elected congressman. He was the longest running in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1945 to 1947. Then we seen Julian Bond, like a young Julian Bond. I like that, right? Who was another civil rights movement politician, professor, writer. Then we seen a young John Lewis who was just starting out, right? They also show Rustin. I don't know how many people actually seen Rustin. They recently did a movie on him on Netflix where they went into more details about how he was an advisor to Martin Luther King and he helped to launch, the civil rights movement and stuff like that. We seen Wilkerson, Randolph, Abernathy, who helped get, had the 100,000 people that they was trying to get to the March on Washington. We talked about how Megan Evers, was unfortunately taken out, right? And even though he fought in World War I, he still came home and then ended up being gunned down like he wasn't nothing, all because, people didn't like that he was trying to bring everybody together and talk about the civil rights that people deserved and things of that nature, right? We had Malcolm always out here talking about police violence, brutality, and how there was vets coming home from the Korean War. And so all of those things, of course, was playing a part. And of course, we later would see Elijah Muhammad not agreeing with some of the ways that he was going about it. And even when he went to Washington, he also ended up having a conversation with John Lewis and Rustin while he was there. So I like seeing those little parts of it as well. Okay. Let me see what y'all saying. Kanzi Love says, they did the family wrong, made me think about the Wendy Williams situation. Child. The sister was hell. I should have known she was. Yep, she stole the picture from the house. Yeah, because that's how they met. She literally was stealing a picture from the house, and then gonna come over to him and introduce herself like, "I'm your sister, and whenever you want, you could come look for me." I'm like, okay, child. Yeah, Thurman was definitely a piece of work. Like, I never knew, not that it shocks me because we know a lot of them want to lay down with us, okay, and they want to take stuff from us, but then they want to say that they don't like us and they don't want nothing to do with us. So it was so interesting to me to find out that he had a daughter that was black. And this whole time he out here so against the movement and he's so against black people and he talking all this stuff and every damn meeting, but behind closed doors, he's running to go, see his daughter and bring her a birthday gift and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, what? When she was like, my daddy came to see me and he was driving away, I say, oh, for real? But of course, that's how it usually goes. I can't say I'm too shocked when it comes to that part, right? So the next couple episodes, right, we had got to like 3 and 4, which was Protect Us and Watch the Throne. And those they more so focused on, like, they're now ascending to their positions. They're now starting to get out here and, make these different protests and have these different movements. You have Martin, which I don't know, because in the movie, I remember it being somebody that was in the prison that actually introduced him to Islam, whereas in the show, they say that it was his brother, and his brother actually tells him that, you have your other siblings that want to see you, and they want to be with you, and they want to write you, and they want to have communication with you, and he's pretty much kind of closed himself off, and then he tells him how much him reading the Quran is going to help him and be able to put him in a different place. And when he comes out of prison, he reconnects with him, of course, joins the Nation of Islam. He's all into, the Elijah Muhammad or whatever, and just praising him and loving him, everything, thinking he the best thing since cooked rice, right? And then he meets Betty, and he's pretty much like, where he trying to basically get with her, and busy that they don't really get to spend that much time together. So he actually asked her to marry him over the daggone phone. And when they get married, like, he's still busy. It's like they really don't have a honeymoon, nothing. And she get pregnant crazy fast. So at one point, it's like he keeps being dismissive of her and telling her, I gotta go. And Elijah Muhammad said this, and Elijah Muhammad said that. And Betty got fed the hell up and packed up her stuff and left. I said, oh, I didn't know Betty left. What? What's up, Nita? Hey, you doing? Thanks for coming through. Betty packed up her stuff and left, girl. She said, I ain't got time for this mess, because every minute he kept trying to tell her, like, oh, well, you know what I mean? You the housewife. You supposed to be home. You supposed to, have the babies and take care of the house and cook. He didn't want her to be a teacher anymore. And that was something else that I noticed that was similarities between both him and Martin, whether they knew they was doing it or not. Is like, on one hand, y'all would say, oh, I appreciate you so much. I love you so much. I wouldn't be able to do this without you. But on the other hand, you was like, yeah, you just supposed to stay here on the side. You ain't supposed to be doing no whole bunch of talking. I ain't got time to hear you. I'm like, excuse me, sir? Because Martin said that to damn Coretta one day. Mind you, they bombed their house and Coretta went flying just had put the baby down and went flying from the living room to the bedroom. I said, baby, this ain't your regular everyday arguments. Like, our houses is getting bombed. I'm going to need you to pay attention and put a little bit more respect on my damn name. Okay, sorry, I love y'all and all that, but I know y'all out here fighting the civil rights, but this ain't your everyday, shindig. I'm just saying. So Betty got pissed the hell off. She left and went to her mama house, and mama was kind of like, because she said to her mother, I don't know what to do. I've never been married before. I've never been in this situation before. And her mother was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you, because you, first of all, left from being a Christian and became a Muslim. and then you got married, where I'm thinking that we gonna be able to walk you down the aisle. We didn't even meet this man, but now you want my help and you want me to intervene into your relationship. So I could kind of understand on one hand where mama was coming from, but on the other hand, I was like, why can't you just talk to her as your daggone daughter? Like, you may not understand and you may not be a Muslim, but you know how you want to be treated and you know how you want your daughter to be treated. I don't think it take much, to realize that. So I was trying to understand where mama was coming from, a little something, something. I'm just saying. Yes, Candy said. I was like, hold up. Yeah, man. They was, because it was like they was trying to be able to keep their identities, still do what they wanted to do, because how Coretta even ended up kind of still agreeing to get into this relationship with him. One of the first things she said is she didn't want to lose herself. And she also said that when we taking these vows, I don't want to say I have to honor you and, do what you like. We got to switch these vows up, right? And he agreed to that. She was very open on the kind of woman that she wanted to be. Even when his father was disrespectful to her, she packed her bag up too and was ready to get up out of there. And then he had to come and talk to her, and he also had to talk to his father and put him in his place. And then that's when she agreed to marry him. So now that we marry, you still trying to act like you know what I'm saying, being a little funny style after the fact. Is like, nah, I don't like that. So I appreciated the fact that they showed that, and they showed how both of them still, would say what they want to say when they want to say it and put their 2 cents in, and they still wanted to have their own outside of what they had with them together, right? And I know that that wasn't easy because, like I said, they weren't just dealing with everyday, things that a lot of us are dealing with. They dealing with that times 1,000. Okay, so mind you, when Betty gets up and leaves, she over here asking her mother, like, has Malcolm called? If he calls, say that I was here, say I was there, say I'm sleep child. Malcolm wasn't even calling. It was like both of them was being, stubborn, where it was like, I don't want to pick up the phone and call first. If he don't call me, I'm not gonna call him, type of thing, right? And he had somebody that was talking to him saying, you need to go ahead and call Betty. You need to go over there. That's your wife, regardless of how you feel. And he's saying, no, I'm the man. She better come on and call me, and trying to be stubborn and cocky and all of that. And then finally he came and knocked at her daggone mother door. And she was like, he said to her, I don't know how to be a husband. And she was like, I don't know how to be a wife. Okay, how about that? We both doing this together. We supposed to be in this together. We're supposed to be a team. I said, I know that's right. Get them together, girl. Get them together. What's up, Monique 69 Ways? Candy Love says, Malcolm was always referring to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Sir, he's not in this house. Marriage bed. Yes, Malcolm was called. He was. She even had to tell him that at one point. She was like, I didn't marry the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I married you. This is our marriage. Yes, he was fine, child. I'm just saying. He was. He was. So, and then he also had this lady that he was seeing, in the previous years, okay, before Betty, that she knew him as Red. She knew him when he was in the life, because we do see, of course, this is already known. That's why I didn't go too deep into that part, that he was out here doing his little robberies, and he had these white chicks that was helping him to go do the robberies, and of course, that's how he gets caught. So she knew him from that life. So when he's saying he changed and he's into Islam now and all of that, she ain't trying to hear it, because she like, boy, bye. Like, I know what you about and what you be out here doing. Yeah, you may say that, but you still going to be the same old person that you was. And then he was still kind of like playing both sides. I guess you could say having one foot in and out, up until the point that his brother gets put out and they start placing him up. So he's moving up. He's doing more speeches. At the same time, we're also seeing Martin doing more speeches. They're both getting more famous, and he's basically calling Malcolm a clown, a coon, everything under the sun, right? They don't see things the same way, right? And he sees the girl, bumps back into her all these years later, prior to getting with Betty or whatever. And he was tempted and was starting to get back into it with her, but then it gets to a he's basically like, nah, I can't mess with you, because the whole purpose and why they put his brother out supposedly is because he was not his life as a Muslim should be living. And Malcolm didn't want to get kicked out, so he was like, I can't have nothing to do with you, but what I would tell you is that you should join the Nation of Islam too. And she was like, yeah, I don't know about all of that. She wasn't ready to do it at the time, but eventually, at least in this series, she does, right? Yeah. Candy Love said, I had to go back and rewatch. I was like, going on that. Oh God. So I don't know, but I know that him and Red Fox was always supposed to be. He had a cool relationship with him, and Malcolm X is actually a documentary on them too. I always felt sad that they never actually got to make amends before, he passed away. Unfortunately, it was a lot of them that used to hang out, especially, back then, getting into the Nation of Islam real heavy. So, this just was kind of the dynamic of both of them being in prison. Of course, Martin Luther King was arrested 29 times. He had charges that range from, of course, civil disobedience to traffic violations, you name it. They would just be giving him stuff every time he turned around. Whereas, of course, Malcolm went, to prison for him doing his little illegal activities, and then later was able to transform himself and start getting heavy into the Nation of Islam. So just was showing how they both was kind of struggling, with being locked up. And then, of course, Martin Luther King also survived an assassination attempt, right? A decade before he actually ended up, unfortunately being taken out successfully. There was a failed attempt on his life on September 20th, 1958, when he was doing a book signing, and this woman came up to him, asked him, are you Martin Luther King? He tells her, yeah. And she tells him he's a communist. She actually tries to stab him. Well, she does stab him, I should say, and just a couple of inches from his heart. He would have been gone then, right? She narrowly missed his heart, and she stabbed him with like a letter opener, right? And he underwent hours of surgery behind that, okay? And of course, later he would get assassinated in, April 4th, 1968, standing on the balcony in the Lorraine Motel. But his mom was also assassinated, which I don't think I hear too many people talk about it, sometimes here and there. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like, his mother was literally sitting at, which they don't talk about this in the documentary, just, a fact that I'm throwing out there. His mom was sitting at the piano playing the organ in the church. She was actually the choir director at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and she was shot while playing the Lord's Prayer on the daggone organ. This guy comes in that was named Marcus Wayne Chestnut, about 23 years old or whatever, right? And he had actually planned on shooting Jesse Jackson. Some kind of way he changed his mind and canceled that plan last minute. Then he also originally wanted to take out Martin Luther King Sr., but he felt like it would be more of an impact if he took out the mother, and he switched to her because he felt like she was near to the father. So he came in there and he actually shot and killed her while she was playing the daggone Lord's Prayer, and he ended up being convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death, but then it was like the family really didn't believe in the death penalty, and some other things happened. But long story short, he ended up passing away at 44 years old in prison. Daggone way. Candy Love says, I wonder if he wishes he never introduced us to the Nation of Islam after he found out about the chick, or was that specific part not true. That's the only thing, because I know that it is definitely true as far as Elijah Muhammad, allegedly having a whole bunch of different he made babies with. That part was never no secret. Now, was it that specific girl that was his ex-girlfriend that he told to get into Islam and then she did? I don't know. I don't remember it being that, and I also don't remember it being that way in the movie, but I could be wrong. My first time seeing it being told that way is in this series. So whether that part is true or not, I didn't find anything to tell me whether that's true or not. But I do know, as far as the story goes, that he definitely was out here in these streets, and that was another thing that basically started making Malcolm get disappointed and look at things in a different way once he found out that all that was going on. Is like you being a real freaking hypocrite right about now. So if someone came up to me and asked me if my name and my name is no. She says yes. I learned about his mom about 5 years ago. Okay. Yeah, so and then his brother even passed away in a supposed freak accident where he drowned, allegedly. So unfortunately, they all, passed pretty like early in life, right? And so, you know, continuing with the show, those was really the things that stood out to me, was just the dynamics of their relationship, the parts that their wives played in everything, seeing them as kids and the things that they had to see and experience at such an early age and how they was expected to grow up so fast. I don't think people really think about sometimes how young they were when they was out here giving these speeches and fighting for things. They was in their like late 20s, early 30s and things of that nature, right? And so you do start to see them show, like episodes 5 and 6 was Matriarchs and the American Promise. This is where we start getting to what the pressure is on their relationship with their wives, the pressure that Coretta and Betty start to feel. This is when we start to get to the March on Washington, and when we also get to the Kennedy assassination, which has different effects but lasting effects on both of them, because Martin was actually trying to work on with Kennedy, he thinking he about to get this bill to pass or whatever, whereas Malcolm was feeling like Kennedy wasn't really there for them and that they were not going to get everything they was looking for by making a deal with Kennedy. He felt like the March on Washington was more of like, for show. And this is where he talks to John Lewis and Rustin, trying to get them to kind of see, where he's coming from. And so I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I missed out that I wanted to bring up. And like I said, Adam Clayton Powell, he was trash. He was sending them threats. He was basically like saying that he was gonna make up different stories and put out different stories if he was not gonna back them, and all of that different kind of stuff. And we see that even on Godfather of Harlem, they show a lot of Adam Clayton Powell antics up there. I do like that show, and I like how they incorporate Adam Clayton Powell and Malcolm X into it. I know some people don't really care for that part, but so they were showing a little bit of that in here as well. They definitely was showing how trifling Thurman was and how every minute he was out here going against them, but yet the whole time, like I said, he had this black daughter. And then mind you, it got to the point where, because we know the FBI definitely had a big impact on both Malcolm and Martin. They was watching both of them. They was taking pictures of both of them, filming both of them, tapping both of their phones and all of that. As a matter of fact, Martin Luther King's family won a lawsuit in 1999, okay, December 8th, 1999, they won a lawsuit against the government. Jurors actually reached a unanimous verdict and decision that the King's death was a result of conspiracy, and the trial took place in Memphis, Tennessee, and included 4 weeks of testimony and 70 witnesses. So this is a known fact. This ain't something that anybody is pulling, out there behind and making up. And they would be on the phone, like him and Coretta would be on the phone when he was away, and they would hear clicking, and it would be like, what's that noise? Oh, well, we're gonna call the phone company. We're gonna tell the phone company about it and have it fixed. And then it got to the point where it was like, I don't think we should talk on the phone no more. They had packages getting dropped off at their house. They got letters getting dropped off at their house. Of course, we had nonstop phone calls with different threats coming from some of our own supposed people and other people, of course, that is just, racist and just didn't want us to be able to win and get nowhere, right? And so we literally would see when they hanging up the damn phone. Oh, of course, we had that part, which was always legendary. In the movie in here where he goes to help one of the vets that done got beat up by the cops, which he was always speaking out about. And of course, when all he had to do was point that finger, and they was like, oh, he have, too much power. That's when they really was getting tired of him. You had Martin on the Time magazine, and them just getting more popular, being in the newspapers, going to do their different speeches. And it's like, yeah, they getting too big for their bridges now. That's what they were saying, right? And so one of the times when they hanging up the phone, as soon as they go to the next, scene after that, we seeing the FBI listening. We seeing them bringing in the boxes. We seeing all the paperwork, all the pictures, right? It's one time when Martin was standing and talking to one of his co-workers. They done took pictures of him and the lady and sent that to Coretta. And so when Coretta calls him and she's talking to him and he says, well, what was in the package? What else did they send? She basically says, oh, don't worry about it. I'll tell you about that later, right? But she only tells him about the letter where they're basically calling him a fraud. They're calling him a beast. They're calling him abnormal. They're calling him an animal. There's SA notes in it. Everything you could think of, they were sending this man and they were saying to this man on a regular basis, right? And we also get to the point, of course, where they're now giving Malcolm threats. Basically, somebody meets up with him and lets him know they want to take you out. They want to take your life, okay? He's supposed to be taking his daughter for ice cream, and he's literally getting in the car and checking the car and telling his daughter to go stand on the porch so that if the car gonna blow up, it would only be him in the car and it wouldn't be the daughter, where he checking it first. I said, what a way to live. Like, that was crazy, y'all. That was really, really freaking crazy. And he still was going out giving his speeches. He still hadn't told, Betty nothing. She over here trying to write letters to the Elijah Muhammad and they make a peace between them. And of course, you got the people supposedly in Elijah Muhammad ear telling him, nah, he just trying to take you out. He trying to be bigger than you. There's no making peace with him. And at this point, they just wanted him gone. And that's just what it was. Right? So, they did get to meet in DC this time, and unfortunately they was trying to meet again, which I feel like if them two would have got together, like if they thought they was mad at them separately, because I don't care how much people, like I said in the beginning, was saying that Martin was for peace, they still didn't want him around either. They didn't want them around whether they would have been talking about peace or not. They would have been so shook at them two getting together. Like, it would have been crazy. And so, unfortunately, they never got to have the second meeting that they were supposed to have, because Martin had ended up getting arrested again. So Malcolm did get to meet up with Coretta and speak to her for a minute. And unfortunately, after that, Malcolm, of course, gets taken out at the autumn, ballroom. And child, Lord of mercy, just him, of course, another known photo where he's standing there guarding because they damn house had got bombed one night, and he was like, I'm gonna make sure I know how to shoot. I'm gonna make sure my wife know how to shoot. And when they get the news, Malcolm and his wife are sitting here watching it on TV, and they saying how they need to go ahead and write a letter, to Betty and stuff like that of condolences. And he was like, no, I'm gonna write it myself. Like, this has to be something personal. So of course he does send, Betty the letter, and she gets to read it and everything like that. And it's just sad. They both was 39 years old when they died. Both of them. The same age. Of course, Martin ends up going a couple of years behind him, right? April 4th, 1968. So, hey Samara, how you doing? Thanks for coming through. Yeah, they was getting death threats every minute. Like, can you imagine? Every time you turn around, you got to be worried about somebody bombing you and your kids while you sleeping. You got to be worried about your car getting blown up. You got to be worried about you getting damn shot, stabbed. Like, leave me alone. That was like too much. It really, really was. And at this point, he was even going to the hospital for headaches and different things of that nature. And the doctor was telling him it's probably stress. Like, hell yeah, stress. That would stress anybody out there. And then the people at the mosque was making fun of him, saying, oh, he must be taken after his mother. He must be, it runs in the family and he having a psychotic break like his mother. I wouldn't be mad if he was. You probably would have a psychotic break too, even if that was true. With somebody freaking threatening your damn life every minute. Like, are you kidding me? And think about that impact that it had on his kids, because his kids was literally sitting in the front freaking child seat when that happened. Lord of mercy, baby. Yeah. That was some deep stuff, y'all. It was really deep. But it was in parts of this that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the, comparisons of seeing them both as young boys that just want to be innocent and want to be boys, but unfortunately they got so many horrific things that's happening in their lives where they can't just be boys, right? They have to grow up faster, seeing that both of them was actually very smart when it came to school and things of that nature. And both of them, even if it was in different ways, fought for what they believed in to the bitter damn end. And so they actually had more in common than what they had in common. Right? And then of course seeing Betty and Coretta come together and how many things they fought for together and how they was like, wow, imagine if our husbands could see us right now, what would they be saying? And them even saying the similarities that they had and how they both had a sweet tooth and how they both would be smiling and laughing at them. Coretta fought for so many different things after Martin's death, right? Including, of course, making his birthday the national holiday, and you had Stevie Wonder with the birthday song, but they both worked together and became really good friends. I wish that could have happened sooner. I wish it could have happened between him and Martin as well, but of course, it didn't. But they became two strong fighters that was out here representing, you know. Monique 69 Ways said they should be scared with those death threats, especially what happens to Medgar Evers. Yeah, I touched on that. Like, Medgar Evers literally fought in the damn World War, and there's a part where they was talking about that in there. And they didn't give a damn. They didn't give a damn. That's why I said it didn't matter which way you were saying it and how you were saying it. People use that as an excuse. But when it comes down to it, and even in this, Malcolm at one point gives a speech about it's not about your politics, it's not about your religion, it's not about your beliefs, it's not about whether you say it high or you say it low, it's about you being black. Period. Like, that's what it was. So that speech gave me chills too. I was like, you better break it down, brother. Okay. So just wanted to mention, like I said, there's so many documentaries because these are the two people that we probably hear about the most of any daggone body. And sometimes you probably do get tired and be like, we want to hear about some other people. There's more stories out here that we could tell. I definitely agree with that as well. I could see that side of it, but I thought this was a little bit of a different spin, and I liked, those contrasts, and I liked the soundtrack and things of that nature. But some of these I've already talked about as far as Black history movies. So we have, like, for Martin Luther King movies, you have MLK FBI, which came out in 2020, right? That just basically gives you all the breakdown of all the different tapes and things that they had on Dagon Martin Luther King that the FBI was doing. Okay. Then of course you got Betty and Coretta, which was with Angela Bassett and Mary J. Blige. That came out in 2013. Then we got Montgomery to Memphis, which was a documentary, based around his speeches and things like that. Of course, you got the animated series in case you want to show it to your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, nephews, godkids, or whoever, which is called Our Friend Martin. Then you have We Are the Dream that came out in 2020. You have I Am MLK Jr. that came out in 2018. You got MLK The Assassination tapes that came out in 2018. You got King in the Wilderness that came out in 2018. And then of course you have Selma that came out in 2014. As far as Malcolm X, there's a lot of documentaries. There's two that you can find. I don't know if they're still on Netflix. I know they were. I think they are. One is called Blood Brothers, Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali on Netflix. Then you have Who Killed Malcolm X on Netflix, which that was very good. Then of course, you have the, Malcolm X movie that most of us know that came out in 1992, but you also have one that came out in 1972. You have Malcolm X, Make It Plain, and you have Malcolm Echo, the legacy of Malcolm X. You have One Night in Miami, which I like that. I think that was on either Prime or Hulu. I remember watching it when it first came out. Eye on X. So it's quite a few, like I said, on both of them in terms of documentaries, movies, books. We know we can pretty much get a lot of information on them now. A lot more that's released now in these last couple years than, of course, it was years ago because we was trying to make things seem, a certain way at that time. Monique said, I didn't watch this show movie. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I figured a lot of people wasn't gonna really check it out on that like that. It was on Geographic, Hulu, and Disney. Okay, but overall, I thought they did a good job, especially with just showing the compare and contrast of their childhoods and how they grew up and all of that. That part was intriguing to me. Shannon said, you dropping some juice today. I'm trying. Okay, a little black history for you. Monique 69 said, oh, dad, what's going on. My dad going computer want to act up now. The Lorraine Motel Museum in Memphis is powerful. If you haven't experienced it, I would. Yes. And I still ain't even get to the other museum that they put up in Washington. I definitely want to get to a couple of these. My cousins and everybody going and taking pictures. I want to go. I want to definitely go. Shannon said they didn't want them to get together and didn't know they were both Yes. So young. So young. So yeah, y'all, that's what I got today. I was actually up here for longer than I planned on being up here, but I definitely appreciate y'all popping in, okay? Whether you saw it or didn't see it and taking time to listen. I really didn't do like a big review on it, like episode by episode. I mostly just pointed out the parts that really stuck out to me. I gave y'all a little bit of facts. I gave y'all a little bit of movies that y'all could check out for Black History, and just did like an overall, because I was originally supposed to do it like an episode by episode, but because of me getting sick and other things happening, I didn't get a chance to. It is 8 episodes, and they did put them out 2 weeks at a time. And most of the episodes is like maybe 40-45 minutes long or whatever. If you are interested in checking it out, I say it's okay. I think it really is a different perspective because it just shows you the human side of them spending time with their family, them interacting with their kids and laughing and joking, and them, like I said, from when they was kids. Of course, there's the other parts in between that's not so nice and not so pretty, but when it's all boils down to it, it was 2 men that just wanted the best for their families. And to me, you know what I mean? You can't be mad at that. So that's what I liked about it. Candy Love said it wasn't overly saturated with them solo. It focused on them as young kids. their wives, their childhood, and incorporate. So yes, that's perfectly said, Candy. That's exactly what they did, and I think they did a good job at that. So that was kind of a different spin, in my opinion, from what we probably are used to when we see these things. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, the human side of them, absolutely. But thank y'all for joining me, y'all. That's what I got today. Of course, I will be back tonight for the Oval, tomorrow night for Sisters, Friday night I'll be with Moochie. Shout out to Moochie for what the heck are we doing? High Town. And then I will be doing, I think it goes, I do the Bodyguard at 9, and then I'll join Moochie at 10, and then Saturday is Self-Care Saturday, and what you should be watching, child. I'm busy, 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 busy in these streets, honey. Okay, so come back through if you watch any of those. If you can't, catch the live, of course, you always have the replay. But I'm going to talk with y'all later. Hulu.